We're going to bring up a couple of gentlemen from the Roundtables yesterday. They're going to provide a bit of background, their perspective on how the discussions went. If you guys don't recall or don't know, there were 3 different discussions that were occurring simultaneously. They're going to provide a quick recap so we can jot down notes and take that with us as we move forward. So if you would, David, please join me, Sean, Stephen as well, and let's bang it out. Okay. Hey.
Thanks.
Welcome, yeah.
Thanks.
Steve, good to see you.
I want to just take a minute first before we start. We lost a friend earlier this week, Erwin Ephron, who was generally regarded as the man who invented media planning. He died Sunday in New York City. Erwin was truly a great man who contributes so much to our industry. Erwin was known for his brilliance and quick wit. I was privileged to call him a friend. I was one of many who could call on him at any time for advice or input. In the late 60s, with the advent of access to Nielsen, Arbitron, Simmons data through mainframe computers, media planning evolved from the media director sitting with the account and creative team, a la Mad Men, to one of crosstabs and analysis, permitting target audience definitions to be the norm. Erwin was a leader in this and other trends. He stayed relevant throughout his career, coining the term and concept of recency as an alternative to reach and frequency in the 90s. The best way to share Erwin with you is to share some of his quotes from his newsletter. There is no truth here. There are only better or poorer measurements. If the schedule runs as ordered, you're probably paying too much. Laughter is fine here. The worst effect of an information monopoly is ignorance. The upfront is rooted in scarcity and fear. No matter how much more effective one medium is at the start, there comes a point where the next dollar should be spent elsewhere. Advertising is too often like buying a melon where you have to spend the money to find out if it's any good. Intelligent auditing is a simple way to reduce this risk. Different media can do different things. That's why we use them. The role of most advertising is to nudge people towards one of the brands they already know when they are ready to buy. Frequency is crabgrass. I'm still contemplating that one. Engagement is not a media problem. The simple model is media delivers consumers. Ads produce response. Erwin was 79. He was active in the industry his whole life. His voice will be missed. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Well, a couple of things some takeaways from yesterday.
Yeah.
A little bit of what Donnie mentioned in terms of the panel. I think it was somewhat consistent across the different rooms that there's still an interesting divide between the TV and digital space. The one common component is just the video. But the dynamics and forces and the cultural divides and the generational issues still create a pretty good gulf between what's the right thing to do and where the budgets are applied. Certainly measurement is a key issue. We can all rattle off the many different ways to quantify and be accountable in the digital space, and the TV sector has their version as well in their equation. And then there's some gaps. There's some bridges that are trying to be built so that there may be some more flow between some of the budgets on the channels. To that point, I think one of the misnomers we uncovered was that digital's growth is not always just at the expense of TV. That's just the wrong way to think about it. And it needs to ladder off of where is the consumer? Where's mom? Where is she consuming her media, and how do we get there? How do we as brands put our stuff there? Think neutrally, think less as time goes on about what are the rates and increases to the upfront. How much will things cost? Now let's think about our target. Reverse that thinking. And I truly, in my mind, it came across that whatever the number of years is, but let's just say the next 10 years, probably the span of most of our careers here, it'll be a chess game of how to put these equations together, how to build these bridges, how to unlock these dollars to do the right thing. Because in 10 years, the millennials take over, right? And they don't care about matters of upfront, and they don't care about a lot of the traditional measures and the platforms that we spend a lot of our budgets on. They're going to be a little bit more of a legacy-less thinker and applier to the budgets and that type of approach. So, it's as much to me measurement as it is generational, and I think we just need some brave brands out there to put a stake in the ground and say, damn the past, let's do the right thing for the future and follow exactly where our target is and catch up to them.
Yeah, so at Group C, we solved everything. So we have all the answers. No, we actually, well, first I want to thank Videonomics for putting together this boy band. So you've got the bad boy, you've got the smart one, you've got the goofy one, which makes me the cute one. So thank you guys. We went in with the premise that the model was broken. And I think through a lot of discussion in the room, we concluded that the model's not necessarily broken. The model really just doesn't exist currently. And we're in the process of building the model. And that was okay. And so when we take that friction out of the model of TV versus digital, as opposed to TV and digital working together, that's the way that I got the sense the room really wanted to look at the industry moving forward. And we talked a lot about metrics like everybody else. VC and OCR are the kind of step one of metrics and kind of get the conversation started, but everybody was pretty confident that that's not where the metrics conversation is going to end. We talked about attribution being the more important metric. We crapped on TV's attribution models and the fact that they don't exist, but it is what it is. And at the end of the day, one of the brands in the room said, we're working brand by brand to break down the models that we spent decades and literally billions of dollars building up. And now we're breaking those down and rebuilding them for this new world. And that's just the way it's going to have to be on a brand by brand basis. Just like that's the way it happened way back when with TV, it's going to happen here. So it was more of the wheels are in motion and this is happening. Let's do what we can as an industry to help grease the skids and help it along. But if we try and solve it tomorrow, it's not going to happen. TV's day of reckoning is coming to some extent where the millennials are coming on board, patterns are changing, dollars follow eyeballs, the eyeballs are changing. It's going to have to change, and let's just be there to capture it when it does change.
Right. There's agreement that while it's not broken, it ain't fixed either. And where we're at right now is unsustainable. We have to be willing to change over time. The automation is one of the ways to help standardization. I don't think there's any question about that. And while there is some question about whether television can move to a programmatic or automated methodology for any of its inventory, the reality is some of that is close to that already. DRTV is very close to the way that we buy activity programmatically. So there are some parts of television that can be that way. And if you think about it, a lot of the programmatic that's done in web is for DR purposes. So there are some more things in common than people would maybe necessarily admit. We do have the metrics issue of Nielsen-based monetization and currency versus third-party ad server. There is work being done in the industry to do fusion of those for web purposes, and that may come to some fruition there. We are potentially this whole rich behavioral data, and yet we're faced with, if Congress ever goes back to work, maybe a world without cookies. So we are definitely in a period of change, and there is change. We maybe are in danger of trying to oversimplify it too much and trying to look for an easy answer. And we've got to continue to be at the table and continue to study this and maybe bring the industry organizations in too. I don't know whether the IAB and the National Association of Broadcasters have actually ever sat down at the table together. It's probably a good idea. And maybe at some point when we're talking about metrics, get the MRC involved also. because they have helped us solve some problems before. But as these guys said, we have to keep working through it, and we'll get there.
Great.
I think a few more critical points that I learned yesterday was, one was I play a mean xylophone.
Wow.
Thank you. I'll be back later. So that, don't play Kay Wesolowski and cornhole.
Critical.
Critical. And then my last one here is Amanda Plotkin is of Colombian descent. So
Who knew?
those are three.
Can you distribute those notes, or
Yeah, you know what? Follow me at Sean Finnegan on Twitter, and I'll just retweet.
Perfect. Perfect.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Good job.